Welcome back to the Central Podcast, episode 2. You're here with your hosts, Danny Grazanzio and Joey Maldonado. Joey, we saw a pretty epic showdown in the WBC. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So with the WBC again, unfortunately, the United States of America lost to Japan in the finals, and the at bat that everybody's talking about is Mike Trout versus Shohei Ohtani. Personally, I know um, a lot of people are saying that it was that Mike Trout's just not as good anymore. It's Shohei's clue, the best player on the team. That's horseshit. I'm sorry, but if you really think Shohei Ohtani's better than Mike Trout, you're out of your goddamn mind.
Nothing
Um,
about baseball.
I'm sorry. Like, I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. Probably one of the most exciting at bats I've ever seen in my life. You have two of the best players, probably at their most dominant peak in baseball, going against each other in the biggest at bat for their countries. Super exciting. I mean, Shohei threw what, two pitches over 100 and then like an
Yeah.
80 whatever mile per hour slider to
It's
finish
like
it
down
off.
the middle, too. People are
Yeah,
talking about how great the slider was. Trout just missed it.
yeah.
Pissed me off.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a good pitch. Like, I'll give it to Otani. He won the battle, but oh my goodness, people need to stop talking about Otani is better than Trout. That is going to drive me crazy. And I will say it over and over on the podcast. We're witnessing greatness. I get it. Shohei's super fun to watch, but stop talking about him so much. It's going to ruin him. Please stop.
It's like they're seeing the versatility as its own greatness, which is true. But I was listening to the like the analysts talking about Ohtani, and basically what they were saying was Babe Ruth only had one or two seasons where he actually both hit and pitched at a high level. So it
Yeah.
is really fucking cool that we have Ohtani now. This is the third season playing at such a high level. However, we've talked about it before. You have an above average hitter and above average pitcher. He's not the best in either. He doesn't have the highest OPS. He doesn't have the best ERA. He'll never win a Cy Young. He'll never win a Silver Slugger, right? He hasn't won one. I'm assuming he hasn't. It's just I could be wrong about that. But I cannot see how we take someone who's really good in like a couple things or the best in either outright. Sorry, if you hear that, that's my dog in the background. He's going to be very annoying. Um, but you have Mike Trout, who's arguably the best five-tool player we have ever seen. I'm getting ahead of myself. Should we talk
No,
about the rest of the WBC?
yeah, no, we're just going to talk about this for the whole entire hour. So keep talking about
We
Mike
feel
Trout.
very strongly about this.
Yeah. So to anybody out there, Mike Trout is better than Shohei Ohtani. Just leave it at
Very
that.
true. Very true. I can't believe we even have to say that, but that's where we are.
Yeah. I mean, Danny, what do you want to let's talk about the WBC? I mean, as a whole, I mean, I know we kind of briefly touched on the at bat. What are your thoughts on the entirety of the event? I mean, I know you were the person that got me into watching the WBC, so thank you for
I
that.
am the OG. Thank you very much.
Give me your thoughts.
Trey Turner, man. He's cool. He's so good. I mean, I remember for anyone who's wondering, Joey and I were at a March Madness basketball game in the stadium watching the at bat where Trey Turner hit the grand slam to go ahead. I think it was Venezuela, right?
Yeah.
And I shit you not, we're watching on our phones during like 2 minutes left in a really close game. It was like Northwestern and
UCLA.
UCLA. Great basketball game. That's why we're there. We're in Sacramento, and we're paying more attention to the Trey Turner at bat in our phones. And of course, he hits the grand slam. We all get up and go crazy,
Oh,
and everyone around us is like,
we're
"Oh, what are
free
you?" Yeah, yeah,
we're freaking out and everybody's just sitting there like, what just happened? Like, I don't
yeah.
care.
You hear the oh, they're talking about baseball. Like,
Nobody cares about that sport. Let's watch another
right?
sport.
No, but in all reality, Trey Turner put on a show. I don't think he could have played any better. In fact, I have his stats here. Just to hammer it home, he hit 391 with a 1.483 OPS, 5 home runs, which led the WBC. And Trey Turner and home runs really don't go well together usually.
Yeah,
It's
I
more of an
know.
average hitter.
Yeah.
And he had a 1.43 slugging as well. So just a crazy performance from him. He's one of my favorite players. I can talk about him all day. Joy, standouts for you.
Yeah. So and just real quick to talk about Trey Turner. I mean, he wasn't just barely like they weren't just barely going over the fence. Those motherfuckers. I
They were all
mean,
in the same
they were
place too.
yes, all on left field, just beautiful. And you could tell, I mean, he's gotta be. I mean, I know I'd like to claim Mike Trout as Captain America, but the WBC this year, I will gladly have Trey Turner be Captain America because
That's
he
not
was,
what we were saying. Yeah, we were saying Captain America was Trey.
yeah.
That's for sure.
So there's two people that I want to talk about specifically. One as a pitcher, one as a hitter, who in the NL Central really stood out to me. In the WBC. In the first, you're gonna love Javier Assad, right-handed pitcher for the Chicago
Woo!
Cubs.
Let's go.
Uh,
Didn't get that
and
fifth starting spot, but that's okay.
yeah, I saw that it was between him, Wisniewski, and who was the other? All actually good. I'm surprised that those are all your fives because to be honest, I think they're better than some
Uh,
of your other
I should
starters. But
know that.
um, regardless, we could talk about that a little bit later. But
Yeah.
5.2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 6 strikeouts, 0 earned runs in 2 games. I mean, he threw a perfect pretty much 6 innings. I mean, for a player that isn't really well known in Mexico,
Yeah.
to really put on a show like that, especially for the Cubs right before their season, he's going to give himself an opportunity to play at the MLB level. And good for him, man. He balled out for Mexico and did everything that you could have asked for. I
It
mean,
was
just
Samson, by the way.
Samson, that's who it was. Filthy pitches. I mean, he was throughout the entirety of the WBC the best pitcher
Mm.
for the NL Central. There was a lot of guys. There's just a lot of them only had like a couple innings pitched and only maybe like a couple strikeouts and a couple earned runs here and there. Overall, Javier Assad, props to him. Really good pitcher for the WBC. Danny, I want to ask you real quick because I don't think you're going to get this.
Hmm.
Who was the overall best hitter throughout the WBC in the NL Central?
Well, give me. Oh, so in the NL Central, the best hitter, what stat are we going with? Average, OPS? Or just are
Everything.
you saying like in general?
It's going to be everything.
Um, Probably Arenado, if I had to
Oh,
guess.
boo. Okay, you're right.
Oh, I got it. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I ruined it.
I was really hoping you were gonna say Goldschmidt. No,
Oh no.
so Arenado hit 385, hit
Whew.
10 hits, 5 RBIs, and he had a 448 OBP and a 577
Oh my
slugging percentage.
God.
Just killing the ball over one OPS, just absolutely, and he was consistent. Goldschmidt was putting up similar numbers and then really
Yeah,
fell off the last couple games.
right.
But throughout the entirety, he was just killing it. I mean, the
Yeah,
top guys were, I mean, obviously I'm gonna guess on my boy Sal Frelick, but
yeah,
he didn't play enough games for him to get some
right.
of these numbers. But yeah, Arenado was a stud. I mean, him and Goldschmidt were carrying Team USA, especially
Yeah.
early on throughout the
I
entirety.
swear Arenado had like five of those like frozen ropes in between the
Yeah,
shortstop and
short
third
seven, third.
baseman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like every time he's getting on, like Mookie's looping it into left, Trout's striking out,
Yeah.
like
No, I mean it was really cool to see. And a little bit scary as well because I don't want the Cardinals to do well this year.
I have more
Um,
on that later.
yeah,
There's some scary stats.
yeah. I mean,
Just for
what are your
that.
overall thoughts about USA versus Japan? I mean, that's the big thing that everybody wants to hear. What are your thoughts?
Oh, that Schwarber at bat was one of the best at bats I've ever seen. I will say that.
I agree. I was in
Yeah,
my room just watching this at bat, and I mean, pitch after pitch, great contact, great contact, great
yeah,
contact. Our buddy was actually at the game, and he, I was hoping
yeah,
one of the balls was going to go to him because it was in one of the
yeah.
sections, just destroying the ball.
He was whatever. It was just Darvish, right? He was facing.
Yeah, it was Darvish. He had his
Yeah,
number.
yeah. And it's like it wasn't even like Darvish was throwing the same pitch. He was throwing inside, outside fastballs, curveballs. Every single time Schwarber was on that shit, and it's so great. Of course, we weren't able to enjoy it as much because we were down, so it was really stressful.
Right.
But do you remember that Rizzo at bat a few years ago where he had like 12 or 13 foul balls and then he finished it with a home run on his knees? In my opinion, huh?
Was that in New York?
No, 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 no. It was while he was still with the
Chicago.
Cubs.
No, I don't. To be honest with you.
I can't even remember who he was facing, but it reminded me of it so much because a lot of like the people who analyzed it said it was the greatest at bat they've ever seen because he was just all over the ball, fighting every pitch, brought it to a
Right.
3-2, and then hits a huge home run. Schwarber did that times 10
Right.
because of the situation it was in.
Right. I mean, that's everything you could ask for. I mean, to not only get more pitches for that pitcher, but just crazy good contact. I mean, as a pitcher, you got to be terrified. Like, holy shit, he's hitting everything.
Yeah,
Like,
everyone in that stadium knew it was going out too.
yeah, it was a no doubter. That was so fun to watch.
Mhm.
Probably one of the most. I mean, besides maybe the Trey Turner Grand Slam, one of the most hype moments
Oh yeah,
throughout the entirety of the WBC. And unfortunately, USA. I mean, of course, it's funny. Everybody was talking about, oh, like our pitching staff isn't great. Our relief pitching is great. I mean, you can't blame that game on
We
them. I
have
mean,
better
they
relief pitching than Japan did.
yeah, and the starters held. I mean, you gave up 3 runs. If you would have told me before that game they're only gonna give up 3 runs to Japan, I say we win 7-3. We win the game.
Yeah.
Like, um, but I mean, unfortunately, there's a couple times, and for everybody that's saying, "Oh, Trout didn't play well," you clearly didn't watch the game.
Yeah.
Stop. Like, oh, he swung on a 3-1 count. This, and that. He's the greatest hitter in the world for a reason. If he thought that there was a pitch to be hit, like, I'm sorry, everybody was saying it, and he still went 1 for 4.
Right.
Shut the hell
Yeah.
up.
And it's funny because people say like, oh, well, like we didn't hit that well. No, we just left runners on base. I think we had double the hits of Japan.
Oh,
I don't
it
know the
was
exact
it was
stats, but
ridiculous. We had so many. It reminded me of a Brewers game. So
yeah,
many runners on
so many
base,
guys on base. Yeah.
and just can't score a run to save their life. No, it was super frustrating. But that's baseball. I mean, you could argue Japan was the better team, so
Yep.
it's not
That's
like
what
we
I was
lost.
just gonna say. Japan was the better team. They
Like,
just what a
adaptation.
cool few. Sorry, I keep cutting you off, but what a few players to look forward to coming into the MLB in the next few years. Hopefully,
Oh
they
yeah.
have some guys that are going to be some of the best players in the league immediately. You
Oh
think
yeah.
Otani's a great hitter. These guys like see the game in a totally different way, and it's so cool.
I'm excited, and it definitely revolutionized that one Otani quote that he said before the game, where it's like, "Look, we gotta stop idolizing him. Like, we need to just like play our game, and we know we're better. Let's just do it now and show the world who we are." And like, that's super cool, man. Like, it's really giving them a spotlight. Like, the MLB is being challenged for the best baseball league, and I love it. It's
Right.
super cool to watch, and some of these guys are coming to the MLB now. Like, that's super cool to see. Like, both of these leagues are elite. It's not like in other sports like the NBA. Like, the European leagues are good, but they don't compare.
Right.
And so, like, it's super cool to see a league that actually matches the MLB in terms of skill level, and it's fun.
Trevor Bauer just went to the JBA, and I think it's hilarious that people are like, "Oh, he's gonna have a 0 ERA there." I can't wait for
No
him to get
chance.
lit up. I
Yes.
can't wait. He's on one of the
No.
best teams too, so they're gonna be in the playoffs. Like
Yeah. And for him, he was like, "Oh, it's my dream to play here," and I was like, "Stop." Like, stop. Like,
guy
really?
was making like 100 mil like with the
Yeah.
Dodgers, and he says that's
Uh,
his dream. Yeah. Mm.
I was like, you know what, man? Like, I mean, yeah, I know. I'm not gonna talk about Trevor Bauer. Um, I mean, let's kind of talk a little bit more about the MLB specifically in
Shift
spring
it
training,
over.
Danny.
Let's do
Um,
it.
who are your? Give me some thoughts. Spring training, how's it
Oh,
going?
I have so many stats. I'm gonna throw at you right here. I'm gonna start with the Cubs. I'm just gonna basically go over like, in my opinion, the best performers from each team,
Go ahead.
from spring training. And I'm gonna start with the Cubs because they're the best team in the division, they're the best team in the world. Trey Mancini, I know we talked about him before. He had 46 at bats, which is pretty much almost every game, playing at least a few at bats. He hit 348 with a .922 OPS, which is absurd, especially his average is not there. He's a career like 260 hitter and he hits for power, but he's hitting for power, he's hitting for average. He's going crazy. I love him. Patrick Wisdom, another guy, 343 with 1.037 OPS on 35 at bats. The guy's a dog. I can't wait. He's like a career like 230 hitter. He hits nukes. I mean, yeah, they go way over the left field fence in Wrigley, but he doesn't hit for average. That's a pretty great average for that many at bats. So I'm
Right.
excited to have him be, at least a DH for us, and is an above average defender as well. Um, and to finish off with the Cubs, Yan Gomes, projected to be our starting catcher, probably. He's an old man. He hit 324 with 37 at bats and 1.020 OPS, which is very good for him. He's not a good hitter.
Oh,
Um, so it's good to see some of our like older veteran guys getting in the groove
right.
heading into the season.
Right.
And I do have a couple pitchers as well for the Cubs. I think I only have pitchers for the Cubs, but Stroh, I'm big on Stroh. Obviously, every Cubs fan should be. He had a .9 ERA on 3 different appearances with 10 strikeouts and a 1.20 WHIP, which is great for spring training terms.
Do you
And
want to
he
talk
is.
about? Do you want to talk about what WHIP is for like any casual baseball fan out there?
Why don't you explain it, Joey?
Okay.
I'll give you something to talk about.
Yeah. So it's just a mix of walks, hits, and innings pitched for a pitcher. And it combines all of that together. So overall, like WHIP is a stat that a lot of baseball guys like us like to use. just because it gives an overall definition of okay, how many player like ERA can be a little bit skewed sometimes. Just
Mhm.
because sometimes they're put in bad positions and sometimes it's just not always what it seems. So what generally is a pretty good stat, especially for relief pitchers, to really show okay how many times with guys that don't get as many innings to show okay how many walks am I giving up, how many hits am I giving up, or how many innings pitched. Um, sorry, I know you're sorry. Continue.
No, I because I was talking so much, I need to give you at least something to say. Um, so excuse me, Stroh is looking great. The guy I'm most excited about, we mentioned on last week's podcast, Wisniewski, Hayden Wisniewski, 2.12 ERA on five appearances with 17 innings pitched. Now, Joey, if I say 17 innings pitched, how many strikeouts do you think a guy with 17 innings has as a starting
uh,
pitcher?
Starting pitcher, I don't know, probably 12, 13.
He has 22 strikeouts in 17 innings. And this is the guy last week we were talking about that had that amazing vertical break as it's
Yeah,
going up. He was named our fifth starter. He beat Javier Assad, who Joey mentioned is playing out of his mind. This guy's going to be a stud. I think he's going to be one of the best pitchers in the NL Central. You'll see why later. Also with a 1.12 whip. So very hyped about him.
right.
Now, before I go into, I have a list of a bunch of standouts from every team. Do you want to give me a little rundown about the Brewers spring training?
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about a couple different guys that really played well for Milwaukee, and I'm going to leave out the big name because I know what at some point we're going to talk about who our most impactful player was, and it's going to be a Brewer. But a lot of guys that played really well. I mean, Sal Frelick has been just really tearing the ball up. I mean, ever since the WBC is still, he's actually him and Joey Weimer are fighting for a spot currently. Now that they sent Tyler Naquin was I believe he was DFA'd.
Huge
Um,
surprise. You guys just signed him, didn't you?
yeah, I know. Yeah, we just signed him. I did not expect that. He wasn't hitting well at all throughout spring training, and they
Yeah.
probably made the decision that it's better for the young guys to get the at bats, which I obviously love to see. Joey Weimer playing really well, hitting the ball really hard. Sal Frelick, I mean, again, the overall good hitter he's been playing. There's a couple other guys, but those are the two guys that I'm really going to highlight. They're going to be good, and I'm excited. The future of the Brewers is starting to really unravel, and those are two guys that really stood out in this spring training for me specifically. Besides one other guy, and I'll talk about him a little bit later. But yeah, those are the two guys from Milwaukee that I really like to see so far.
Okay. I hate to hear that they're playing well, but I guess good for them. So I have a few guys from each team that just had an amazing spring training, and I'd like to at least highlight them before we head into the regular season.
Yeah, go ahead.
Um, So Brian Hayes, he's a name that everyone talks about. He signed that kind of low deal for what people thought, but he did not bet on himself, and I kind of respect that. I think it was only like 90 mil for like 10 years or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Something lower than
it was low, and I mean, it's kind of hard to turn down 90 million or whatever it was $1 million.
right. He's
But yeah,
projected to be one of the best players in the league.
yeah,
And for people who aren't aware of like how the contracts usually work, if you sign a contract early, you're not going to be outside of that contract until after your prime. So you're not going to be able to sign those huge deals we just saw, Dansby Swanson and Xander Bogaerts and Trey Turner signed the 300, 400 millions. If you are worth that, you're still not going to be able to sign for that because you're locked in that contract. Um, Brian Hayes, he had a underwhelming year, setting 333 and 36 at bats with a 1.092 OPS, which is very impressive,
well,
especially these star guys who know they're going to have, they're locked in the lineup. He's locked at second or third, for the rest of his career probably. He's locked at that third base. He really doesn't have to try all that hard to fight for a spot. So he's probably coming in, taking leisurely swings, hitting 333 and 36 at bats is incredibly impressive in spring training.
wow.
Another guy, we talked about him. I didn't know a ton about him, but you did. Andy Rodriguez, kind of
Yeah,
crazy stat. He's hitting 412. Now
the
only 17
dog.
at bats. Yeah, but he's got a 1 OPS. I'm excited to see him. Let's see. I like Henry Davis better, but I think they're both going to be really good. So we'll see. It's a bright spot in the Pirates' terrible, terrible future.
Is he going to be on the I don't know this. Is he going to be on the 40 man or is he going to be starting opening day?
I don't think he's starting opening day, but I believe his projected um, call up is this year.
Awesome.
Now, don't quote me on that.
Oh yeah, they optioned Andy.
Yeah,
Um,
okay. but I'm assuming he'll come up.
Yeah, he's
But
in triple. I mean, he's in triple A. Yeah, he'll come on.
uh, going on to the Reds, Jonathan India, a name that I think he won Rookie of the Year 2 years ago. And then he had a season-ending injury last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. A huge bright spot in the Reds organization. He's really good. I believe he's transitioning over to the second base role to make room for Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah.
But he's hitting 320 in 50 at bats with a .906 OPS. Again, a guy that you know is going to be in your lineup every day. Great stats for spring training. You hope they can just transition that straight into the regular season. And I'm going to skip over one guy in on the Reds because he's my MVP for spring training. So then I'm going to go down to the Cardinals, and we were speaking about Arenado earlier. Once he came back, and a little bit before, he's hitting a ridiculous 579 in spring training with, mind you, 19 at bats, but still that's what, like 11, 12 hits and 19 at bats with
So good.
1.579 OPS.
He's so good.
Absurd numbers. And
Why is he on St. Louis?
I don't know that any other team I'd love to root for, but I mean, you could start to make very early MVP claims for this guy. He's incredibly good. He wins the Gold Glove every year. He's gonna go down as the greatest third baseman ever. I think at this point, it's out of the question. Um, and a guy I hate to see playing well. I hate it because he's public enemy number one to my organization. Willie is hitting great in spring training. Willie Contreras, he's hitting 343 on 35 at bats with an 823 OPS, which is what everyone knows he can do. Um, so I hope he fails. I really do.
I'm
I'm
with
gonna,
you, man.
yeah, no, we're gonna be
I've
on that,
I've been on that train for a while.
you've always hated him and the Cardinals catcher. So now it's just, you know,
Dude, it's a
double
perfect
the
fit.
hate. Yeah.
Exactly, man. I've hated Cardinals catcher for a long time, and now I get to add a couple more years to that.
Yeah. So I do want to ask you, we each have an MVP for spring training. And I believe I know who your guy is, but why don't you start off with yours?
Yeah. So my guy for the Milwaukee Brewers, Mike Brousseau.
Mhm.
He's been playing out of his mind. I saw these stats and I was like, holy shit. So, he is hitting 387. He has 31 at bats. He has a ridiculous, I mean, a 1.532 OPS. Just hitting the ball out of his mind. He has 6 home runs, 14 RBIs, which is up in the top 10 in both categories. I mean, he is literally hitting as well as you could hit in spring training. And to me, there's nobody in the NL Central that's been better in terms statistically. And that was a guy that I noticed and I was like, wow, like I would not, I guess, Mike Brousseau to be the guy that is hitting lights out. And he's putting up numbers identical to Arenado, except he's doing it on 12 more plate appearances. So he's my pick for the MVP for the NL Central throughout spring training.
That's fair. I like that. I hate that, but I like it, in terms of I love good baseball. My guy is kind of similar. He's a guy that's in AAA. Hadn't heard of him until now. His name's Henry Ramos.
He was
For
one of my
spring
guys I
train,
was thinking about.
yeah, he's hitting a ridiculous 500 in spring training with 26 ABs. He has 13 hits. He's with a 846 slugging and a 1.36 OPS or 1.363 OPS. The guy doesn't even have a picture on ESPN, and he's hitting that good.
He's a
I
dog.
Yeah, apparently he's nuts. I thought I'd give the shout out to him because man, that those are some ridiculously good 500. His on base was like 600 or something, like it's unreal.
That's
Um,
ridiculous.
yes,
My God.
so I believe that wraps up our little spring training route. If you want to start to transition into the little lists we made,
Yeah.
um, before the season
Um,
starts.
yeah. So we made a couple different lists, especially in honor of the 2023 MLB season coming up, with some good hot takes for you guys. So what we're gonna talk about is first we're gonna dive into the top 10 position players in the league. Danny, give me your list. Who are the top 10 players going into 2023?
Ooh, do you want to start with the World Series first, just so we can get that out of the way?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm gonna go over my World Series pick, and then I think we'll go into the lists.
All right.
My World Series pick for this season is going to be the Philadelphia Phillies, and Trey Turner is going to be riding with that trophy, baby. Um, and they're gonna beat the Astros. I hate the Stros. Fuck the Stros. Everyone should still hate the Stros. Fuck them. Joey, what about you?
Yeah. So I have the Atlanta Braves over the Houston Astros. For me, they made all the right moves in terms of who they need to sign. I mean, they lost the only big name that they lost is Dansby, who I consider to be overrated as hell.
Whoa, whoa,
We'll get into that a little
whoa.
later, but yeah, that I mean they made every single good move. Their core is so good, and they have Ronald Acuna coming back. So I
Who
have
looked
Atlanta.
subpar in the WBC, may I add?
He's Ronald Acuna, man.
I know. All right, I just wanted to get the World Series out of the way so then we can go into our lists. We have a bunch of awards. People are going to clip us saying some stupid ass shit here. There's going to be some hot takes. Don't worry.
Yeah, please tag us. Please tag us. Say, look, Joey, that's a stupid ass take. Please, hey Danny, like the Cubs are not good. Stop talking.
I mean, true. So I think we're
Uh,
going to start with our top 10 position players in general for just the league. Do you want me to start off with that?
yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'm gonna stretch it out a little bit. There's some hot takes here. Number one, it's gotta be Mike Trout. Coming into the season, he can't. He is the best player right now. He is the best player of all time. Everyone should know this. Get it in your fucking thick skulls that he is the best. Number two, Joey's not gonna like this as much. Ohtani has risen to number two for me. The impact he has. He won the WBC by dragging his great, mind you, teammates along. But the guy is a stud, and it's hilarious because you have number one, number two, Trout, Ohtani, two best players in the league, and they will still miss the playoffs by a good 5 or 6 games this season. Mark my
That's true.
words.
They'll find a way. That's what they
Yep.
do.
Number three is really easy for me. Paul Goldschmidt. I think he's still the best hitter in the league. Joey disagrees with that. I think you at least have to put him in the top three with him, Trout, and Juan Soto. Um, guy's a dog. Number four, Bryce Harper, coming off an amazing season where he didn't even play and should have been in the MVP race, right? Or
Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
I'd have to look at how many games he played, but I mean,
yeah,
he's a dog.
he's a pretty good player. Number five, Juan Soto, should go without saying, gonna be one of the greatest hitters to ever play the game. If you know baseball, you know how good swings are. That's him. Number six, Judge. I think maybe I had him a little low on my list, but Aaron Judge, he broke the home run record. He's pretty good. He's at least number six. Number seven is gonna be Trey Turner, my guy. I have more on him later. I just think he's gonna have a phenomenal season. Uh, I said number seven, so number eight is gonna be Jordan. Love the guy. Like Juan Soto, I think he's got to be maybe one of the best hitters we've ever seen play the game. And if he can improve his defense, I think there are many MVPs in his future. Um, Number nine is going to be Mookie. Uh, I think he solidified himself as a top player after the WBC. He played great. He played like Mookie should. So I think we're going to see Mookie this season again. And number 10 is going to be Manny Machado. As much as I hate him, guy's pretty good baseball player. So, yeah. What about you, Joy?
Yeah. So decent list. Um, so number one, I have the same thing as Danny. I have Mike Trout. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest player I've ever seen with my own two eyes. Can do everything. This was a down year for him, by the way, for a lot of people, and he still hit 40 home runs. So call it what you will. He's still the number one player in the world. Number two, I have Juan Soto. I mean, in terms of talent, I mean, he might be the most gifted hitter in baseball right now. He's just, I mean, his swing is beautiful. He can do everything. And as a Brewers fan, I hate him. I really dislike him for everything that he's done for Milwaukee against Milwaukee, the whole hater wild card. But he's still such a good player. He was struggling even last year, and he is still this such a good player. Number three, I have Bryce Harper. He had an incredible, not just a good, an incredible postseason. I don't think it's being appreciated enough because they lost the World Series. his numbers were ridiculous. I mean, he was single-handedly beating teams. Nobody expected Philadelphia to be where they were, and he put on a show while he was hurt, mind you. He deserves all the love.
That home
No,
run he hit, I think you could argue is one of the best home runs ever hit,
yeah,
like ever.
and Bryce Harper's another guy where I don't get the hate. I get he's can be seen as unlikable because of his attitude, but he came into the league a top prospect, had a ton of hype, and he's lived up to it. Stop hating on him. He went to Philadelphia. Everybody said his contract was ridiculous. Won an MVP, mind you. Brought that team to a World Series, mind you, when that team did not deserve to be there. There were far better teams in the NL
Mhm.
last year. Brought them to a World Series and went to what? Was it 6 games or 5 games against Houston?
I think it was six. I think it was six. I think they got there. Good for
Yeah,
them.
yeah. It just absolutely carried them. I mean, nothing. One of the greatest hitters will go down as a Hall of Famer. Number four, Aaron Judge. I'm not a big Judge guy, but you gotta give him his flowers. I mean, dude had one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen. Beat Roger Maris's record. I mean, he did it in New York, obviously. I mean, it's everything you could ask for a season. Um, the reason why I don't have him higher is he needs to win, start winning the postseason. I mean, that's
Mhm.
something for him that he just needs to start. They're in New York. You have the talent. Go win a World Series. Um, but no, I mean, having him number four still, he's one of the greatest hitters. And number five, I have Shohei. And I know it seems like a knock, and everybody's gonna tell me, "Oh, you have him so low. You're a hater. This and that." Um, you can't. There is no conversation for him, in my opinion, to be above those four guys in front of him. Based on the seasons that they have, based on the talent that they are right now. Prove me wrong, Shohei. Maybe he's gonna ball out, win an MVP, win a Cy Young. But right now, he's number five for me. Number six, I have Jordan Alvarez. I mean, just phenomenal hitter. I mean, he was in the MVP conversation, and Judge was having the season that he was having, and it was still close for a long time. And
Mhm.
one of the only reasons probably was just because of the fact that Jordan is a DH. And he was putting ridiculous numbers and still just was in the race with Aaron Judge when Aaron Judge was having one of the greatest seasons that we've ever seen. So for me, I gotta have him at number six. Number seven, Mookie Betts. I know some people are probably gonna think that we have Mookie pretty high, but I mean the guy's done it all. He's one of the most versatile players I've ever seen. Strong arm, super fast, good power hitter, good contact hitter. He can do it all. And even like 2 years ago, people were saying that he had a down year, still played well. It's just he wasn't winning an MVP. And so for me, I have him at number seven. Um, Number eight, I have Nolan Arenado. I mean, you can see the way that he's been playing recently. He's been going off, and not even just these last 20, 30 games, whatever, but he's one of the greatest defensive third basemen, if not the greatest defensive third baseman we've ever seen in our lifetime. Can do it all, can hit in all directions, power, contact, whatever you need. Just phenomenal. And he's a guy that I think is the best player on that team. And I know some people might have Paul Goldschmidt, but right now I have Nolan Arenado. Number nine, Manny Machado. Uh, I don't think Machado's talked about enough. As somebody that isn't the biggest fan of him, he's so good, and he really does so much for San Diego, and has done so much for San Diego, and has kept them relevant during this entire Tatis PD suspension. He's really been the guy that's been keeping San Diego afloat, and for me, I mean, he deserves his love and flowers. He's so good. Not better than those other guys, but just super good. And then lastly, at number 10, I have Trey Turner. Obviously, we saw what Trey Turner can do. Super good shortstop. He's going to be huge for Philly. Definitely making them scary, even scarier than they were. He's definitely going to fill that hole for the shortstop role, and he's super good. I mean, there's nothing else you can say about it. And I know there's the honorable mention of Paul Goldschmidt. I know he just won MVP, and I might be hating on him a little bit, but he's just not better in terms of talent for these guys.
That's
Um,
crazy, Joey. That's crazy not having him in your top 10.
he's just not. Um, So now, Danny, let's talk about our NL Central players. The top 10 NL Central players.
Oh, there's gonna be some hot takes in here, Joey.
Ooh, I can't
Um,
wait.
yes, the best player. So we have 10 for each of us. The best player in the NL Central is Paul Goldschmidt. That matches up with my top 10 players. Next is going to be Nolan Arenado. Obviously, the guy's a dog who barely missed out on my top 10 players just in general. Now, this is where it gets hot, okay? And we talked about this last week. Number 3 in the NL Central, Nico fucking Horner.
Oh my God.
He is going to be the best second baseman in the league this year. Quote me, especially with Altuve out at the start. Find him in the All-Star game. Find him winning a Silver Slugger, a Gold Glove. Put him in the MVP race for God's sakes. I don't give a fuck. That guy is a god. Okay.
You heard it here.
Anyways, whew, had to get that off my chest. Okay. Most underrated player in the league, in my opinion. Next, we're gonna go number 4 in the NL Central, Dansby Swanson. He is admittedly a bit overrated, especially what we paid for him. However, he's still a very, very good player. I think he can contribute positively to winning teams. I think he can be, as we've seen, the shortstop on a World Series winning team, the Cubs, obviously. Number 5 is going to be Brian Reynolds. The guy's a dog. He is not going to be in the NL Central for long. Um, number 6, Lars Nootbaar. We saw some great, and then we saw a little bit of a slowdown at the end. But I think, especially with what he's bringing to the game, we have all these new fans from Japan watching the NL Central now, which is hilarious to me. But Lars Nootbaar is going to be a guy to watch in the NL Central. He's number 6. Number 7, Tyler O'Neill. He had that classic 4 for 4, 4 RBI game in the first game when they scored 18 runs. I think that was against Great Britain. He's also like built. I mean, people have seen pictures of him. His biceps are bigger than my head, and he's also one of the fastest players in the league. Guy's crazy. He gets better every single season. I'm scared of him in the NL Central. That's my number 7. My number 8 is my favorite player on the Cubs, and someone who inspires me daily. Ian Happ. The guy is so good, and I is such a good presence for the Cubs. He's great in the clubhouse. He has the podcast, which people listen to. I love the podcast. And is going to be an above average fielder and above average hitter in that Cubs locker room. And I'm so excited for it. The Cubs locker room, Cubs lineup. Number 9, Willie Adames. I have to give him some credit in terms of talent. Very, very good player. I think he's overrated as all balls, but he is very good. And if he is playing at his potential, he could be one of the best players, not just in the NL Central, in the league. And then rounding it out at number 10, Ke'Bryan Hayes. I think he's going to have a standout year. I think he's going to be one of the best players in our division. However, he just hasn't shown his potential yet. So he's at number 10, and I do have a couple honorable mentions. The Yelly Belly combo. I think
Woo!
both, if not either, are gonna. One of them is gonna stand out. I'll make it public.
MVP.
Yeah, I have a very public MVP nod on FanDuel to Bellinger. Dollar to win way too much money. Go look at those odds if you're curious. The guy's swing looks great. He keeps hitting a home run every time I turn on the TV. I have no idea if Yelly is playing well. I hope not, but it's Yelly. You can't count him out. If he plays well, he's terrifying. And then Tommy Edman. He played great in the World Baseball Classic. A little underwhelming, but he's a plus second baseman in every category, and I think he's a really good player. So those are honorable mentions. Joey, hit it.
Wow, our list could not be more different. Um, I forgot a player. You named a player, and I was like, wait, he's not in there. So I had to make a little adjustment here.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So number 1, I have Nolan Arenado. Like I said earlier, one of the best third basemen I've ever seen. Will probably go down as a top 3 third baseman of all time, if not the best. Overall, great hitter, always has been. Great fielder, always has been. We don't need to talk about that anymore. Number 2, I have Paul Goldschmidt. Personally, the reason why I don't have him at 1, I think he peaked last year. I think he had a great season, a really, really good season, deservingly of the MVP. But I still think Arenado has the lead over him, in my opinion. Number 3, and these next couple kind of hurt for me to say. I do have Dansby. He had a good year last year. I'm not a Dansby fan. I think he's overrated. This, and that. I think he also peaked last year. Prove me wrong, but right now in the NL Central, I have Dansby Swanson. Number 40. Number 4, I have your boy, Ian Happ. So again, he was an All-Star last year. He won the Gold Glove. I'm in left field, which is an underwhelming position, by the
Hey,
way.
shut the fuck up.
It's just saying, hey, he won the Gold Glove. But still underwhelming. But overall, gotta give him his credit. He played really well. He's been an underrated guy. I'll give you your flowers when you say that you've been on Ian Happ for a long time here, ever since 2020. And so He's been playing really consistent. So for him, I really want to give him that number 4 spot. Number 5 and one of your honorable mentions, Tommy Edman. I think Tommy Edman is super criminally underrated. Dude's just he's always consistently good. He's always a consistently good fielder. He's always a consistently good hitter. I mean, the numbers, like he can do it all. He's really, really good, really underrated. A guy that I don't think gets enough love. Um, and so Tommy Edmonds going to be my number 5. And then at number 6, I have my boy Willie Adames. I was actually looking at him because while I do like Willie Adames, I think he can be a little bit overrated. Especially last year, he's transitioned into more of a power shortstop than a contact guy, which to me I'm not a big fan of. But his numbers still speak for themselves. And number 7, Nico Horner. So with Nico
So
Horner or Willie
low.
Adames, they actually have identical numbers. It's actually, if you really look into that, they have identical numbers, except Willie's hitting for more power. And so Willie actually was good defensively in terms of WAR. He had a 2 I want to say 3. Don't quote me on that, but he was a top 10 player shortstop for WAR last year. He did play well defensively. And I know that might come to surprise you, Danny, but I was surprised. He did play well last year defensively. And he's a good hitter. So that's why I have him at 6 and Nico at 7. I think Nico's potential is probably a little bit higher, but right now I have Willie at 6 and Nico at 7. Number 8, unfortunately, again, I have Wilson Contreras. Fuck him. But he's a really good catcher. Again, he's proven to be a good catcher, but for me, he's not great defensively. He's underwhelming defensively, and I think that's going to hurt the Cardinals a lot. So he's currently my 8. Number 9, I have my boy William Contreras. Proved himself that he's a good hitter in the league. And that's somebody that I'm very high on, and I think can really turn into a really all-around good player, especially coming to Milwaukee, to be a little bit better defensively. And then number 10, the guy that I completely forgot, Brian Reynolds. Brian Reynolds, again, he's been a good player for the last couple of years now. Might get his contract, might not, depending on that. Pirates organization, they should sign him if they want to start anything soon with their franchise. But overall, he's my number 10 guy, and that is my top 10 list. Danny, what are your thoughts?
Oof. So many disagreements, honestly.
No, where do
And
you start?
huh?
I said, where do we start?
Well, I think it's hilarious that there is a strong lack of Reds players on either of our lists. I probably should have given an honorable mention nod to Jonathan India.
I thought about it,
Um,
but he's
yeah.
been all right. He was all right. Yeah, like I
I
really want to. I was trying hard. I was like, I
I
wonder
just
what
think
they'll
that's
put there.
crazy to put William Contreras over guys like that. Totally unproven.
He was an all-star
Uh,
last year.
yeah, okay, yeah, but I guess
How's that unproven? It's an all-star.
I have a foot in my mouth, I guess, but I do not think he did. You're high on him because you're a Brewers fan and you're a
Of
bitch.
course.
So,
Of course. But when we made the trade, I was ecstatic to hear him. I was very
Also,
surprised.
you said like Willie's defensive stats were similar to Nico's, not offensive, right?
No, I was saying as a whole, a lot of the numbers were very identical.
Oh, so I thought you meant like their average because Nico's definitely hits for better
No, 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 no,
average.
no, no. Well, that's why I was saying no, no. As
Yeah.
a whole, when you look at like their on base, their slugging, their
Okay.
OPS, and then their defensive numbers, almost identical. I was actually very surprised.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and
We'll
yeah,
see after this year what happens. I mean, that's all I'm gonna
yeah.
say.
I mean, Willie's more high profile than Nico. I mean, we
Yeah.
all know that. That's not like a news to anybody.
Yeah.
And obviously, call me biased Brewers fans. I hear it all the time. But for me, those were kind of some guys that, and I know specifically the Goldschmidt hate. Again, people are gonna probably think that I hate
You're
Goldschmidt
a
a lot.
dumbass. Yeah.
I bet you're surprised to hear me at Dansby at 3.
I did. I was. I was. I bet you were surprised to hear Hap was so low on my list.
I know. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, like I definitely thought you were gonna have Hap at 3.
I
That was
love
kind of a
him.
surprise.
I love him, but
The Lars Nootbaar, I was a little bit surprised. I think Lars had a great WBC, but I don't know. He's a good
he
player.
might
And
bring that hype in, man. I'm on the hype
Tyler,
train.
it's funny. I thought Tyler O'Neill was going to be in my top 10. I really did, and then like I started to look into it more, and I was like, oh, like it was a little bit underwhelming.
Statistically, yeah, but I feel like so you're the stats guy. I'm just the game guy.
I
I do
like
not see, huh?
no continue.
I just mean like going into this season, and I get it. Like with Goldie, like he's 35, he probably is out of his prime, but he's still so goddamn good. I mean, like
Sure.
Jesus, I just like the WBC hype is going to bring so many new fans, like I said, and I feel like Lars is going to try to continue that. So I feel like having him that high, it might be a bit of a hot take, but
No, no, it's crazy. I saw a
huh.
thing on Twitter. Lars Newbar. It was like him, it was like a video of him doing something with the WBC, like not even like at the game, but like a pregame thing. And then it was Albert Pujols' 700th home run, and Lars Newbar. It was a ridiculous. And don't quote me on the exact numbers, but it was like 4 million views for Lars Newbar, like walking pregame, versus like 500,000 views for Albert Pujols, one of the greatest hitters to ever play the game, hitting a 700 home run on Twitter.
Yeah,
And I was like, wow, like that is huge. Like, why is the MLB not getting more coverage? I mean,
right.
that's ridiculous to me. That should not be one of the greatest feats, a feat that we will probably never see in our lifetime again.
Mm.
Ever. It's realistically probably ever.
Well, that's how great this is though that Lars is having those views. So maybe in the future, things like the Albert Pujols home run will have more views because there's this whole new fan base that might watch that MLB now.
I hope so. I really do hope so.
Uh,
Um,
I
let's
don't know.
talk about let's talk about our top five starting pitchers in the MLB.
Woo! The entirety of the MLB, right? I'm gonna start with mine,
Yep,
or
the entirety of the MLB.
let me find my list
Going
here.
into 2023, who are the top five
Ooh,
guys that you want on your roster for the Chicago Cubs?
this is hot. He's always hurt, but he's one of the greatest pitchers we've ever seen. Number one, Jacob deGrom. He would have had the greatest season to ever exist in 2021 if he wasn't injured. I think he still had an under 50 or under point 0.5. Oh, what do we say? Yeah, under point 0.5 ERA going into the All-Star break, which is just crazy. And players would literally openly talking about being scared of him, the same way they were scared of Chapman, the same way they're scared of. They talk about guys like racist guy. What's his name?
Hitter?
Hater. Thank you. Um, People are not usually scared of starting pitchers. And the way people would talk about DeGrom just gives me fucking shivers down my spine. I'm so excited to see him play, even though he's going to be hurt at the beginning of this season. That's my number one. Number two, Sandy Alcantara. Guy's crazy. He's putting up nasty numbers. I think the Marlins could be a pretty good team this year, especially considering their pitching staff is like super talented, super young. Number three, Justin Verlander. He's old, he's washed, but he somehow continues to get better and better as he gets older. And he's winning at life. Just he's married to Kate Upton. Hey, what else are you gonna do? Um, Number four, Corbin Burns. I hate the man with a burning passion, but he lights up the Cubs every year. The guy is gonna go down as one of the best pitchers in this generation. I just couldn't put him over Justin Verlander after the last season. And number five, a little bit of a hot take, Max Fried. He is
Wow.
so good. Go look at his stats, compare them to all the greats. He gets better and better and better and better, and he's on, you could say, maybe the best team going into this season. I mean, it's between the
I
Braves and
agree.
the Astros. So,
I agree.
but that
Uh,
guy, give him all the money he ever deserves.
yeah.
Jeez.
Wow. Um, that is a hot take, having Max Fried in the top five. You're missing one of the guys that I have in my top five.
Ooh.
So for my list, I have number one, Sandy Alcantara. I mean, dude had an unbelievable good season. I mean, I'm a big Corbin Burns guy, and I was just like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, can you please not? And I know one of my buddies saw him pitch live in person, and he was saying it was one of the best pitching performances he's ever seen. And he was just spectacular. I mean, he was the best pitcher in all of baseball last year, and you have to have him as number one going into the season. Well, I don't think he is probably going to keep that pace up just because starters are very inconsistent. You got to have him at one. So for me, I have Sandy at one. Number two, I have Corbin Burns. I mean, ever since 2020, he's been elite as a starter. I mean, just ridiculous numbers. He's proven it year in, year out. And for me, he's been not only just good, but elite, probably the best starter to ever play in a Milwaukee uniform. And unfortunately isn't going to be in a Milwaukee for that much longer. I will score him wherever he goes. And I love seeing him pitch. And I do get that. Um, I do get that being able to see him every 5 days. So Corbin, I mean, his stuff is ridiculous. He's my number two. Number three, Verlander. I mean, the guy's what, 38,
He's older
30?
than that.
Really?
Yeah.
Whatever, how old he is, 35 plus. just spectacular. And he's one of the
He's
guys that
40.
I'm 40. Wow. He's what he just did. I'm so happy for because not most starting pitchers don't get to do what he's doing and play at an elite level for so long. And not just
Right.
a good level, an elite level. And he's somebody that he has deserved his flowers. He is probably a top three greatest pitcher in this generation
Mhm.
and just deserves all of the love. And I'm very happy for him that he finally gets to get all of this praise. Because he's been a guy that I think has been slept on for a very long time. And should be in that top 10 pitchers of all time conversation, in my opinion. Number four, I have Jacob DeGrom. I am not a big DeGrom guy. I think he's very talented. I think he has potential, but I want to see innings. I'm sorry. I want to see innings. I want to see innings. And you can't blame it on him, but I can't give half a season and call it one of the greatest seasons I've ever seen. I mean, got to play a full season.
Fair.
So for me, I am at four, and unfortunately, he's hurt, of course, to start the year. And so I'm really hoping that he's going to bounce back and we can see the old Jacob DeGrom that was the scariest pitcher in baseball. Number five, which is the guy you don't have, Garrett Cole. I
Yeah,
mean, and
he was on there.
oh, he was okay.
No, no, no,
Um,
no, no. Like honorable mention kind of thing.
oh, gotcha. Okay. Garrett Cole. I mean, again, I'm not a big fan, but dude is really good. I mean, we can't deny it, and he's been consistently good ever since his days in Pittsburgh. Like he has just been a good pitcher, thick and thin. He has everything. He's been consistent. He's not always the best pitcher in baseball, but he's always putting up the strikeout numbers. He's always getting a low ERA. It's kind of ridiculous for how long he's been having these numbers. And I thought, and I still probably think his contract is a little too much. I'm just personally not a fan of paying starting pitchers more than was it 250, 300 million.
Right. Yeah.
Just because for the most part it doesn't work out.
Right.
It's just not something that starting pitchers are really can be consistent about. And so for me, I'm not a big fan of paying a guy. But you're in New York. You can pay whoever you want. Um, so he's my number five. And again, Max Fried, really good honorable mention.
When church.
Um, but overall, I mean, those are my top five. I mean, Danny, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think I'm a fucking idiot because I said Alcantara instead of Alcantara, which is hilarious. But
Yeah,
other
I
than
know.
that, no, I agree with your list. Garrett Cole would have been six for me. I think he has the most strikeouts in baseball since he started, like since he was in the rotation, which makes sense.
He's so good.
Um, yeah. I think we should move it along a little bit here though to our starting
All right,
pitchers in the NL Central.
go ahead, Cowboy.
Um, Thank you so much. Corbin Burns has to be number one. Hate it.
Yeah.
Uh, for the reasons we said before, he's the best pitcher in the NL Central. It's not even close. Number two, Marcus Stroman. My guy is gonna fire on all cylinders this season. Watch and learn, please. NL Cy Young? Anyone? Stro? Maybe? We'll see. Number three, Woody. Woodruff. He's really good. He's been in Corbin's shadow. I'll let you speak more on him because I know he's on your list too, but he's a really good player. If he's on the StatCast sheet, I'd rather it be him than Corbin. Freddie Peralta is my number four. Um, he's just the third best pitcher on the Brewers, and he's also the fourth best pitcher in our division. He's really good. And then Justin Steele, number five. The guy's coming off a great end to the season. I'm really excited to see what he can do. Yeah, and then I have a few honorable mentions. Hayden Wesneski, of course, the guy's great.
Bold.
Yeah, I mean he's our fifth starter, but he's gonna move up by the end of the season. Mark my words. Jameson Taillon, got him over from the Yankees. Incredibly underrated pitcher. I think he could be the number two on any team in baseball, barring like the Mets and the Brewers, and give you solid innings every single time out and never fall apart. Hunter Green, he continues to get better even though his ERA is terrible. I think that's a washout.
Hunter
Then
Green's overrated. I'm sorry, Reds fans. He's overrated.
he's talented, so I had to throw him in there. And then you got Wainwright and Miyakalis. Two guys that they're the best pitchers on the Cardinals, but that's the weakest part of their game. So I'm hoping they do not do well. But especially after that performance Wainwright put on the championship, I don't even want to say his name. But Joey, why don't you give me yours?
Yeah. So pretty similar. Number one, I have Corbin Burns. Obviously, just won the Cy Young 2021. Number two last year. we don't really need to talk about that. Brandon Woodruff is who I have number two. I think he's been a guy that has been super slept on. It's just he's not a guy that's going to get the love like Corbin Burns, like the Garrett Coles, like even Marcus Stroman getting flowers. But dude has been unbelievable for a very long time, and he's been consistent. I'll just give you his ERA numbers from 2018:
Do it.
3.61, 3.62, 3.05, 2.56, 3.05.
Mid.
All all under
Okay.
all under 3.6 since
Yeah.
2018. I mean, dude's been crazy good. And I mean, he's just not Corbin Burns, but that's not to say that. I mean, last year he had 190 strikeouts. I mean, what more can the guy do? A
Right.
1.07 whip. Like, he's so good. He's done it. I mean, he had a home run against Clayton Kershaw in the NLCS.
Uh,
But seriously, like he's been consistently good, and he's a player that really isn't talked about. And he's been a guy that I am a big fan of. I think he doesn't get the flowers that he deserves. So that's why currently right now in the NL Central, I have him as my number two guy. For my number three, I currently have Marcus Stroman. He's super talented, super annoying when you see him in person, but super talented. Overall, big, high personality, great stuff. I mean, he's been good for his entirety of his career. I mean, there's a lot that you could say about Marcus Stroman. And he's probably going to be a guy that heading into the season is going to have a pretty big impact for the Chicago Cubs. Number four, I have Justin Steele. Somebody that really isn't talked about much, but Justin Steele has been very quiet. Almost similar to Brandon Woodruff, where he's putting up numbers, people just aren't talking about it. Last year, I mean, 3.18 ERA, 126 strikeouts. He only pitched 24 games. I mean,
yeah.
dude's super talented, has great stuff. I remember since watching him in 2021 from the Brewers, I'm pretty sure, was it him that threw the no-hitter against Milwaukee?
Justin Steele, no. He didn't throw a no-hitter.
Who was it from Chicago?
Uh,
We watched the game together.
huh? Oh, because you want to turn it off. It was oh shit, I can't remember his name.
All right, I gotta see this. Who is this is gonna bother me.
Oh my god, yeah. I can't think of his.
Anyways, though,
Alec Mills,
Alec
Jesus.
Mills. Oh god. It was Alec Mills. All right. Well,
For
still,
the viewers, Joey wanted to turn off the game and turn on a basketball game during that. We did not let him. He did
of
not
course
want to
I
watch
didn't.
the Brewers. I can know it.
Hell no, I don't want to watch my team get dominated. But no, Justin Steele has been super good. And then number
Yep.
five, Freddie Peralta. I'm a huge Freddie Peralta guy. I'm going to talk about him a lot. I've been able to meet him in person. Super nice, super friendly. He's been a guy that ever since he made his debut, super talented. And he's finally flourished his game. And so he's somebody that I am very, very high on. And he's another guy that I was very happy when he finally got respect in 2021 and made his first All-Star appearance. And hopefully he'll make number two. He got hurt last year, unfortunately, but hopefully he'll really be that three head that we need again. Danny, let's talk about what everyone wants to hear, the NL Central predictions.
Oh boy. Okay. Cardinals are gonna win the division. I hate it. It's
Boo.
gonna happen. I know, boo boo. And coming in second place and somehow clinching a playoff berth, Chicago Cubs.
Hell
That's what they're
no.
doing. That. Oh, they're doing it. They're doing it in third place. The Brewers. The Brewers are gonna get absolutely shafted by the AL this season because of the new rules. The AL scores runs, something the Brewers do not know how to do. And
That's
then the teams no one cares about. I kid, but also kind of really. The Pirates and the Reds are going to finish last. But I do think the Pirates are going to show some improvement from their record last year. Reds will not. The Reds will get worse. I think they might be the worst team in baseball. So put all your faith in Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah,
Joey.
they got
Huh?
Jonathan India. They got two players. But
Yay.
yeah, I'm
Joey
trying
wanted
not to be
to
too much of a Reds hater here. Yeah. So my top five. My number one, I have the Milwaukee Brewers. Winning the division.
Oh,
Of course,
fucking disgusting.
call me biased, but they're actually with the shift changes. I think our players are actually gonna learn how to hit the ball. Um, I
That's
think
the
there's
thing.
gonna be
Everyone else knows how to hit the ball already. They don't have to learn.
that's fair. That's fair. I think Yelich is gonna have a
Uh,
bounce back season. I'm always gonna say that every
oh,
single year.
every year, guys. Every year since like
Um,
2019, he's been saying that.
I think the young guys are really going to be big for us in terms of hitting. I think Garrett Mitchell is going to be a dog, and people are really going to see how good he can be. Sal Frelick again is a dog. Again, Rowdy's going to have a good season. I hope Bryce Terang's the starter at second base. Otherwise, Urias, who had a really good WBC.
He did,
Again,
yeah.
Willie Adames should be better in terms of contact. I'm really hoping for that. William Contreras will be a big upgrade for us offensively. I think our offensive numbers are just going to get better. I think there's going to be less home runs, but there's going to be a lot more hits, which means a lot more runs. And so that's the reason why I have the Milwaukee Brewers at 1. And they're the only team that I think are going to make the playoffs because unfortunately our division is shit.
We're one of the worst
So,
division base. It's the
yeah,
Centrals. NL
yeah,
Central,
the
AL
Centrals are
Central.
terrible. Let's
Yeah.
just admit it. Like if you're an AL Central fan, you guys suck. So do we. It's okay. We get it.
Imagine
Um,
being like a Sox fan or like a Royals fan.
yeah, I would not want to be a White Sox fan.
Yeah,
Number 2, I have the St. Louis Cardinals. Again, they're really good offensively. I mean, they're the best offensive team in the division, but their
might
pitching
be
is
in the NL.
terrible. Their pitching is horrible. Adam Wainwright should not be a number 1 in 2023. I'm sorry.
Dude,
The
he's
bullpen is not
hurt
great.
too. He's not even
Uh,
starting the season.
who is it? Miles Michaelis now? I mean,
Probably. I don't know.
like,
Fuck cares.
I'm sorry, but their pitching is horrible.
Yeah, it's
If they
bad.
make some trades at the trade deadline, maybe there'll be a different story.
They
But
will,
their
I'm sure.
pitching is terrible, and that's where the Brewers are good. So, and I'm a big proponent on pitching wins regular season games.
Yeah,
Postseason not as much, but they win regular season games.
true.
And then I have the Chicago Cubs at number 3. I actually think there's a chance for them to take second, but I just don't like them over St. Louis. Unfortunately, they made the right. They made some good decisions that I think for the future can pay off. And then, I mean, sorry guys, but the Pirates are 4, the Reds are 5. It doesn't really matter. They might win 60 games. They might win 65 if they're lucky. They
Prove
got
us
some
wrong.
young players. What'd you say?
Said prove us wrong.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm hoping that some of the guys, I mean, the Pirates have a very interesting future. They have some guys that,
Their
if everything
pitching's
pans out and their
bad.
owner learns to pay their players more than
Yeah.
whatever 70 million, 80 million, 90 million, what's up? And the Reds, I mean, got a couple guys that you're happy about. You made a postseason run in 2020. Or you made the postseason in 2020. Like,
Mickey Mouse, but yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of where I stand with the NL Central. Let us know that they're really terrible and that we should never do a ranking again. Danny, let's talk about some of the player awards.
I like that. Yeah, let's get going through these. What should we start off with? MVP?
Yeah.
Oof, it's not gonna be hard to guess what mine is. Trey motherfucking Turner, Captain America,
Wow.
is winning MVP in the NL, and it should go without saying as well. Mike Trout's winning in the AL this season, guys. Joy, what about you?
Yeah. So I agree with their AL. I have Mike Trout. I think especially now that people are starting to give him a little bit more credit, assuming that he plays a full season, Mike Trout's gonna be the MVP. I mean,
Yeah,
he hit
that's
40
a
home runs.
guarantee.
He hit 40 home runs playing 120 games. If he's playing 140 plus games, he's going to win MVP.
Guys, he was
Um,
on pace to hit 60 home runs if
yep,
he played the whole season. I'd like
yep.
everyone to know that.
And then for the National League, I have Austin Riley. I think Austin Riley is
Okay.
going to really break out. Super good. I remember for the first time I really got to watch him when the Brewers played the Braves in 2021 in the
Mm,
NLDS, and I was like, wow, this guy can play. And he is not. He's so good defensively. He's so good offensively, and I think he's going to be in a position. I know a lot of people like to say Acuna, but he's going to rack up the numbers. He's going to get the RBIs, hitting at probably the 3 or 4 spot. He's going to get the home runs. He's going to hit for average. He's going to
they're gonna have
play well
so many guys on
defensively.
base for
They're
him.
going to
100%.
win.
Yeah.
He's going to get the numbers, and that's probably the thing that's going to give him over Acuna.
Mhm.
So Danny, what are your rookie of the year? With the
Ooh,
Braves.
hate it, but Jordan Walker is definitely gonna win NL Central. I think he's starting.
Boo.
Yeah, I know. He's crazy. I mean, I think he's starting in the lineup during opening day. I
Oh,
think I saw a report
I know
about
he's
that.
on the roster. I know he just got accepted on the roster. I didn't know if he's gonna be a starter or
He's
not.
dude, he's such a good hitter. Like if you hit those numbers in AAA, it's not gonna change that much in the MLB. Like
Right,
AAA has like nasty pitching.
right.
Um, AL, it's gonna be Anthony Volpe. The Yankees have a plethora of all these like random shortstops, but Anthony Volpe has been a guy that's been talked about for so long. He's got such a pretty swing. I hate it, but the pinstripe is gonna win another MVP this year, guys. Or I guess rookie of the year this year. But Joe, what about you?
I saw something on that Anthony Volpe where he would be the second youngest player, shortstop to start opening day.
Hmm.
Jeter being the other.
Hmm.
Um, so my rookie of the years are Masataka Yoshida for the Boston Red Sox. He balled for Team Japan. Super good. I mean, dude's going to be a stud.
His
I
plate
think he's
discipline is out of this world, dude.
he's so good. I'm pretty sure didn't he have the winning home run against who was it? Was it Mexico? Was it him or
He
was
had
it?
a home run.
It
He didn't
wasn't the
have the
winning one. Okay,
winning.
okay.
Yeah.
I know he. I remember him putting up crazy numbers. And
He
he's
had
going
like
to be somebody.
41, I think.
Up. Um, he's going to be a guy that I really think is going to break out. And I'm also not a big fan of putting the favorites for awards. And then of course, call me biased. I think Sal Frelick's going to be a guy that's going to get a ton of base hits. He's going to his RBI numbers aren't going to be pretty or anything, but he's going to get a ton of hits and he's going to hit for average. And I think he's going to really put himself on the map. But I do like the Jordan Walker pick. I think he's going to be a stud. Hopefully, I'm wrong about that, but
Yeah.
I think Sal Frelick's going to be rookie of the year.
Little bias there, bud. But let's move on. I say we do Cy Young next.
Yeah.
Max Fried. He's so fucking good. Give the guy the money, like I was saying before. Give the guy all the awards. He any uniform he's in, he's gonna be a stud. But if you look at like all the stats, he's like second or third in every single stat. He's so good. And he's on the best team in baseball. He's winning the Cy Young this year. He's finally gonna break through and get it. AL, I hate this team with a burning passion. I hate people who support this team with a burning passion. Dylan Cease is gonna win AL. AL Cy Young, and I'm sorry.
Wow. Shout out our White Sox listeners, man. Um,
What about you
no,
doing?
I mean, I like that Cease pick a lot. I actually have the Atlanta teammate in Spencer Strider, for the Cy Young. I think he kind of broke out last year and really put his name out for the world. And he's filthy, man. I mean, he's
Yeah,
so good. He's somebody that I really think is going to take that next step and really become the number one come 2024 opening day for Atlanta,
wow.
which
He's
is
gonna
crazy.
he's gonna beat out Max Fried, is what you're saying?
I think so. And then which I know I was shitting on this guy also, but Jacob DeGrom. I mean, I think it's going to be time if he's going to play a good amount of innings this year. Assuming he does, I think he'll finally get his credit, especially his first year in Texas. I think the storyline is already there, the narrative is already there. I think Jacob DeGrom's finally going to put himself in that Cy Young category again.
I agree. All right, Joe, we've had some hard-hitting stats. We've talked about all the teams we think that are going to play well, all the players we think are going to play well, spring training, going into the season. Let's have a little fun now. I have a few games for us to play. Um, we're going to start out with the OG blind ranking game. Okay.
Ooh, I see this on my TikTok feed all the time.
Hell yeah. We're not stealing it from there or anything. Um, so the first one we're going to do is a blind ranking from the NL Central's players, all-time players. So it could be current, it could be past
Ooh,
players. And I'm not saying all time as in the greats. I'm just saying they had played at one point or another in the NL Central.
okay,
All right. Your first one. It's 1 through 5, by the way.
sounds good.
JJ Hardy.
4.
4. Why is he 4?
He's a good player. I was a
Hall
big
of Fame
JJ
ballot.
Hardy guy. What?
Hall of Fame ballot.
Yeah, I know. He's not deserving of a Hall of Fame ballot. I love JJ Hardy. And I have a feeling there's probably gonna be somebody a little worse than him. But
Maybe.
good player.
All right. I'm not trying to trick you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Next one. Nomar Garcia Para.
I have no idea. Um,
You know who that is?
I know he played for the Cubs.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put him at 3.
That's probably a good spot for him.
All right.
You could say he's better than JJ Hardy for sure.
All right.
Third one, Sammy Sosa.
God. I want to put him at 1, but I know that there's probably gonna be somebody. I'll put him at 2, but that could really, really turn out well. I'll put him at 2.
We're putting him at 2.
Oh, I
Okay.
got 1 and 5 left. That's really
One in
good.
five, 1 in 5. Number 4, Albert Pujols.
I mean, 1. I'm not even gonna. It's gonna suck because number 5 is gonna be great. And 1. I mean, he has to be 1. He probably would be 1 regardless.
Okay, so you're stuck with this next player being number 5.
Yeah.
Darwin Barney.
Number 5, baby. I'm okay with that.
It actually worked out really fucking
Yeah,
well.
that's
Damn.
great for me.
Damn it. All
I
right.
love that, man.
I thought I was gonna get you to get stuck with Albert at 5, but
Yeah,
all
no
right.
chance.
So now we're gonna do the same format, but just with current players in the NL Central. Okay.
All right.
Number 1, Nico Horner.
Pull back 3.
Okay. Number 2, Travis Swaggerty.
5.
He had a good spring training though. That's all I'm gonna say.
5.
What'd you say?
I said 5.
5? Okay. Number 3, Kurt Casale.
4.
So right now you have Nico Horner at 3, and then Kurt Casale at 4, Travis Swaggerty at 5.
Yeah.
Cool. So now you only have 1 and 2
Yeah,
left.
I
I
know.
want you
I'm
to know that.
aware.
Okay. Okay. Number 4, Miles Mastrobuoni.
I mean, 2. Let's hope the next guy is really good. I guess I got it too. Sorry, Nico.
Number 5, Nolan Arenado.
Let's go.
Damn, if you had put Nico at 2, it would have been perfect again.
It's funny. I was gonna put him at 4, but I was like, no, I'll put him at 3. Maybe like he'll be middle of the pack. That would have been something.
Damn, I can't believe you ended up doing so well on that shit. All right. So then I have 2 would you rather. So I'm going to list 2 players' stat lines from one particular season. For each
Okay.
one, it's going to be each player's best season overall, whether it be statistically or award-wise.
Okay.
And you're going to pick which one you'd rather have.
Okay.
Going forward, only for that season, like having that player.
Gotcha.
Okay, so the first one's going to be pitchers. First player, a 1.56 ERA, a 7 strikeout per 9, only 4 home runs allowed the whole season, only 31 walks. He won Cy Young. He was 5th in MVP voting, and he won the Gold Glove that season. That's pitcher number 1.
Wow.
Okay. Pitcher number 2, a 2.43 ERA, a 12.9 strikeout per 9, only 7 home runs allowed for the whole season, 34 walks. He won the Cy Young. He was 15th in MVP voting, and he was also an All-Star.
I think I know player 2. But player 1 is probably the guy I'm going with.
So you're choosing player 1. Okay, so you're choosing, it sounds like, more accuracy over strikeouts, because player 2 is
the strikeout is really low.
Mhm.
But overall, I mean, most of the numbers are better for player 1. Which sucks because I think I know player 2.
Do you have a guess who player 1 is, though?
No, actually, I have no idea. I'm very curious to see what player 1 is. Player 2, I'm pretty sure is Corbin Burns, but I'm curious what player 1 is.
Player 2 is Corbin Burns' best season, a phenomenal season. But when you put it next to this season, it doesn't look as good.
This is gonna
I
hurt
thought
me.
I thought the Gold Glove was going to give it away. That was Greg Maddox's best season.
Wow.
Yeah, so Corbin looks pretty good next to him.
Yeah.
But 4 home runs allowed the
Yeah, I know.
whole
That's
season.
crazy. That's crazy. I remember when Corbin only allowed 7, that was a big deal. And I saw 4, and I was like, the whole because I was curious. I was like, I was gonna ask how many games did they pitch, but I was like, it's probably
They were both at least above average in terms of, because they were both the number 1. I didn't write that down, but I knew they both
Right.
had
I mean,
many
they won the
games.
Cy Young, so I
Yeah.
assume they play enough to where it's like, yeah, wow, that's crazy.
Right. Yeah, and at 1.56 ERA, it was one of the greatest seasons ever.
I know, and I saw that and I was like, damn. Like I was like, that's gonna be hard to beat. And I
Yeah.
knew the 2.43, and I was like, yeah, that's Corbin.
Yeah. The 12.9 strikeouts per 9 is ridiculous, though.
No, his strikeout numbers are crazy. That's why with all 3 of those guys from Milwaukee, Freddie has crazy strikeout rates.
Yeah.
Woody has good strikeout rates. Like, it's nuts. It's ridiculous. And that's why, like, with Corbin last year, I was like, come on, Corbin, like, keep going. Like, and I mean, Sandy was a dog, but like, yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah, no, I saw the 1.5 and then only 4 home runs. I was like, that's gonna be hard to beat.
Yeah. One of the greatest seasons ever.
Yeah. Agreed.
By a pitcher. Okay. The second one is going to be you took your pitcher. You have Greg Maddux going into a season. Okay,
All
Greg
right.
Maddux on the Brewers. That sounds awful.
I would love that, man.
We're gonna have hitters now. A hitter going into the playoffs. Let's say, hitter number one, a point or a 318 average. Okay, so pretty good. 36 home runs, 103 RBIs, only 62 strikeouts, 50 walks, and a .951 OPS. It's player one. And let me remind you, no awards for the season. Not even an all-star that season, okay? Player number two, a 332 average, 33 home runs, 111 RBIs, 93 strikeouts, 58 walks, and a 994 OPS. And that player won the Silver Slugger, the MVP, and was an all-star.
I'm probably taking player two, but that's very close.
Mhm.
Probably player two, to be honest with you.
Okay. Do you have a guess which other player is?
No, for some reason I have a feeling one of them's hobby bias, but
Okay.
no, I have no idea.
So the player you chose, that for your player was the Ryan Braun's 2011 MVP season.
My boy.
Uh, where he won the MVP, the
Yeah.
Silver Slugger, and the All-Star.
Yeah. Who
The
is it?
the other player who is one of the most underrated players of all time, Aramis Ramirez's 2004 season.
Oh,
He
that
hit
makes sense.
318, had more home runs than Ryan Braun, had just as many RBIs, had way less strikeouts, had the same amount of walks, similar OPS, wasn't even an all-star that season.
Wow. That's always crazy to me when I like there's guys like that where it's like come on, like they didn't make the All Star. Like Bryce Harper when he won MVP a couple years ago, he didn't make the All Star game. It's like, come on, guys, what are we doing? That's why I hate
Yeah.
All Star voting. But
Yeah.
wow, that's crazy. Good
He
for
was
Aronis, man.
15th in MVP voting. 15th.
Crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I would love to see. What year was that? 2004. Said
Yeah. Was that a Barry Bonds year?
might be
2004
that might be a Bonds
NL
year,
MVP.
but
Barry
like he
Bonds
still
year.
should be in the top five. I mean,
15th. Yeah.
that's ridiculous. Wow,
Yeah.
that's like almost identical.
Yeah. I probably would have chose Braun too, but
That's
it's
close. I
pretty
mean,
ridiculous. Yeah. Especially with the strikeout numbers.
yeah,
Ramos
I
Ramirez
know.
was a great hitter.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like the strikeout numbers were low, the averages were high. Like they both were in home runs. Like they were
Yeah.
doing it all. Like
He
that's
was also
crazy.
a plus defender at third.
And he
And I
wasn't juicing. I
and he wasn't
mean,
choosing. Exactly. Well, who knows? He might have been.
yeah.
He was a big
Nah,
guy,
we won't.
but
Yeah. No. Shout out, Ron.
um,
Love Ryan Braun. My favorite
hell
all time
yeah.
player.
Trash can human being. Anyways.
Yeah, boo. He's a great player, man. I love him. Always will. Number 8. Retire that number.
So we're gonna start wrapping it up here from the Central Pod. I appreciate all those listeners, even Pirates and Reds fans, as much as you guys actually need wins. So maybe I'll start hyping you guys up more
Yeah. Yeah,
as
we
we go
won't
on.
we'll stop shitting on them, man. We need them to
Yeah,
really enjoy the fact that they have a couple guys that they can be
yeah,
excited
and
about.
and I want everyone to know each week we're gonna go through and talk about our highlight players from each team. So we're gonna talk about the guys that are standing out from the Pirates, the Reds, even the Brewers, even though they're gonna be fucking terrible. But
Woo!
yeah, okay. But I appreciate every single one of you guys who are listening, watching. Make sure you guys follow us on all of the socials. Joey, hit off the socials because I'm not really good at those.
Yeah, no. So on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, make sure to follow us at _Central Pod. And just want to highlight to everybody, this is the last episode before opening day. So for all baseball fans out there, all NL Central fans out there, we get baseball this season. We get it this week. I'm excited.
Hell yeah.
I
Meaningful
won't.
baseball.
Yeah. Well, the WBC is meaningful, but
Yeah.
meaningful MLB baseball.
Right.
So yeah, make sure to give us a follow. We will be posting more clips from our Spotify, from our Apple Podcast. Please make sure to give us a listen to. Tell one of your buddies. Comment how stupid our takes are. And yeah,
Especially Joey's.
yeah, exactly. They're really bad. So make sure to really, really tell me how bad my takes are.
Exactly. But from here at the Central Pod, we Joey and I both want you to know that we love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And of course, Mike Trout is the GOAT. Thanks so much.
Preach.